Hi, I'm Vanessa. Welcome back to the Salamanca Global Living podcast, where we explore real stories, real estate, and the realities of life abroad. Today, we're going to Madrid. And my goodness, Madrid is such a vibrant, diverse, and interesting city. So where do you start when we're talking about Madrid? Well, today I've decided to focus our conversation on the best neighborhoods for international people who are relocating to the city. And we're going to go through some of the missteps that people encounter when they're looking for housing in the city and help you narrow in on some of the best neighborhoods to consider. My guest today is Sanja. Sanja is an experienced real estate agent and a colleague of mine at eXp Realty. And she is just brilliant when it comes to helping people find their place in Madrid. She knows the neighborhoods inside and out, and she's just a wonderful guide to the city. So without further ado, let's learn about the best neighborhoods in Madrid. All right. Hi, Sanja. Thanks so much for taking time to talk to me about life and real estate in Madrid.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vanessa, for inviting me.
Now, how long are you a Madrid native, or how did you find your way to the city?
Oh, I'm not Madrid native. We moved to Madrid about 8 years ago from Canada. We are Canadian. I am Canadian, born in Sarajevo, former Yugoslavia. So a long history of moving from one city to another, looking for that feeling of home for a long time. So this is a fourth city. I'm actually reinventing myself, reestablishing a home here with my family. My husband is from Madrid. That's what drew us back into Europe, and we made a really easy choice to come and move to a really beautiful, sunny Spain. And Madrid was the obvious choice because of family.
That makes sense. So if a family is moving to Madrid and they know nothing about the city, what are some of the first things that they should understand about choosing the right neighborhood in the city?
Speaking about neighborhoods, one of the things when I speak to my clients who are considering moving to Madrid and haven't visited Madrid is that I say, please first, before you zero in on a neighborhood, come get a temporary accommodation, either a month or two of Airbnb or some other way of getting that temporary accommodation, and get the feel for the city. It's a huge city, and every big neighborhood has its soul, and it's advantages and disadvantages. So for a family, I would definitely say, not only for family, for anybody wanting to move to Madrid and not knowing Madrid very well, I would say come choose a place that feels natural. I think most people choose the central part of Madrid as the starting point, and then go from there. Walk the streets of different neighborhoods during the day and the evening. If you have professional help, it's much easier to zero in. But if not, a lot of it can be done just by getting the feel for the neighborhood. Another thing that I say to families is, there are those blogs and YouTube videos and stuff. They talk about 3 or 4 neighborhoods, and they pop up in Facebook groups and everything. And you would often hear Salamanca, Chamberí, what I want to say there is I normally try to kind of step back and say, look, there are 2 concepts here that are really important to understand. One is that Madrid has 21 districts, and each of those districts has between 6 and 8 neighborhoods. So 131 neighborhoods. So when we talk about neighborhoods in Madrid, we're really talking about 131 neighborhoods. And out of those neighborhoods, that doesn't even take into account all the suburbs where a lot of families want to live if they want to live in a house or have a similar lifestyle to the North American lifestyle that we know in Canada and the US. So Madrid itself, you have a choice between 131 neighborhoods plus all those areas around Madrid that are very, very attractive for people who don't mind commuting, who don't mind driving to Madrid and back, who want to continue that lifestyle of having a garden, a bigger house. Obviously, what's inside a city within the area, unless you're talking about 3-4 million or more, that's houses in a better neighborhood. Mostly it's apartments. So all this to say there are a couple of neighborhoods that are definitely recommended for people to start looking into. They're part of 6 neighborhoods in Barrio Salamanca, say 3 or 4 neighborhoods in not Barrio Salamanca, but in District Salamanca, 2 or 3 in the District of Retiro, 2 or 3 in the District of Chamberí. So I've been working on because I get these questions all the time. I've been working on a document that's kind of summarizing this, but it starts from being, okay, this is too short to give people the context, but then if you start elaborating, it becomes a book. So I'm like, who's in the book? So I'm still working on finding that sweet spot between, giving enough information, but then not overwhelming the people with all the, details and the fields and the streets and the tapas bars and all that in each neighborhoods. What can I say? I mean, I do have a few things I can share with your viewers that might be useful, but these are just a very simple snapshots of all the districts and the neighborhoods, and also some of the most in-demand neighborhoods currently not only by foreigners, but by Spanish people as well.
Right. Yeah, I could definitely see some decision overwhelm there. So how do you break that down? So somebody says, I want to live in Madrid, which clearly that doesn't mean much because it's such a big place. How do you help them? What's the decision tree that you take them through? And let's just use a family with 2 school-age children as our model for this conversation. How would you guide them?
Of course. There's a couple of questions that I ask at the beginning. For me, it's really, really important before I engage in helping anybody is to understand the context really well. Whether and where in the process they are currently, because I get contacted by families who are still overseas, still live in the US or Canada. They still don't have it clear whether they even want to live in Madrid. Or there are families who are living here currently and who are already 5, 6, 7 months into the rental process and are looking for that home in Madrid. My last example, for example, family we just signed a contract on Friday was, for them, it was based on where their kid is already in school. So I would say the family, so it depends on where they are in the process. So for the family that is here already, I would say normally they would have had either help or sign up or got their kids in a school already. And it would be, the consideration would be the commute time they're comfortable with. Do they want to walk to school, or they don't mind driving or taking public transportation to school? Is that a school they want to continue? Is that the school they wouldn't want their kid to change? They want to specifically find something in that neighborhood. So there are a lot of variables, but to simplify this is basically you take into account the current conditions where people are, you take into account their budget. Obviously, that is a key consideration. And you take into account their long-term plans. So if they are looking for a family that's only here for 2 years because of the job relocation, obviously for them, it doesn't have to be a perfect neighborhood as long as proximity to a person's work or a school that is, again, a temporary. So normally these families would gravitate towards Barrio Salamanca or Chamberí. Why? Because those 2 are micro cities. They have everything. Most other neighborhoods do that, don't get me wrong. Those for foreigners that have how can I say, comfortable budgets, those are the neighborhoods they will choose, because you can find a clinic, a pharmacy, a government office, a bank, everything within 5 to 10 minute walking distance. You can walk to the palace. You can walk to downtown. You can walk anywhere. They're all very well connected by public transportation as well. You practically don't need a car. So that would be kind of one scenario, right? With the family I helped recently was because their kid was in one area and they wanted specifically not to be more than 15-minute walking distance. See, there's so many variables when you take into account, but I would say if I were to break it down, I would say number 1 is obviously the budget and the lifestyle. And what is the budget that they have?
Right. And I want to mention something. I definitely, you hit on something really important. The school, if you have children, your life will be so much better if your kids are happy in their new school. And this is a big transition for them. I do work with a wonderful school consultant in Madrid. So if anybody needs help figuring out what school might be the best fit for them, message me and I'll connect you with her. But then let's also talk about budget. So what is considered a reasonable or a healthy budget in those neighborhoods that you highlighted?
I'm sorry not to have a clear answer for everything because it really does depend. I mean, depends on whether the family is buying or renting. Are you speaking about families who are renting?
Let's start with renting and then we can talk about buying. Yep.
So I would say comfortable budget, 2 kids in private school, you need about 5,000 or more euros per month.
For rent?
No, but advertise for the family.
Budget, okay.
Oh, rental depends. I mean, if you're looking at the two bedroom in Chamberí, would be around 2,000. Again, don't quote me on this because there's always going to be somebody who's going to find this for 1,500 in an older building, not in perfect condition, and somebody who would pay 2,500 or 3,000 for a beautiful newer building with the pool type of accommodation, right? But I would say average 2,000 be a rental price in a great neighborhood like Chamberí.
Okay. And to buy in that same neighborhood?
Sorry, district, because 6 neighborhoods in Chamberí, they also vary in price. So I just need to keep correct because I don't want to.
Fair enough.
Further.
So that 2,000 a month rental, that 2-bed, 2-bath, let's say, what would that sell for? What are those rates?
Again, 2,000 a month would be around 800,000 euros purchase price.
Okay. Got it.
Depends again at the state of the property, but that would be approximately based on current prices. I also have a little document that I prepared for you that I can also share that gives you basically a range of sale prices for kind of a non-dated apartments up to the higher end finishes. So I can share it. I have it here if you want me to share the screen. Or I also wanted to give your viewers 2 tips that I always give to not only to my clients, but I have a webinar once a month where I basically free webinar for people who want a bit more about rentals or buying processing in Madrid. So one of the things I share in that webinar and I think would be extremely useful is a lot of your viewers are probably aware of Idealista, right? Which is the main portal here in Spain. And Idealista is a wealth of information. Even us as agents use Idealista for a lot of things for our research. Obviously, we have access to other tools, but Idealista, I think, for somebody who is just looking at different parts of Madrid and generally in Spain, I think Idealista has a great couple of links in there that could be particularly useful. So I don't know if perhaps I could try to share that now.
Yes, try.
Let me try to do this without. Okay, so I don't know if you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so this is just the basic. Obviously, I'm not logged in. You can choose languages here, but let's say we choose English. So all of this, probably most of the people know how to create a profile, how to do the basic search. However, at the very beginning, at the very bottom of this page, there's something called price reports. When you click on price reports, this is where you choose the price report you want to consult. So here, if you put Madrid, you get reports for any neighborhood or district in Madrid. So, for example, this is not only Madrid, but everything around Madrid, right? So let's say district, let's say we're looking in Chamberí and sale. Consult report. Look what we get. We get all this information per barrio, per neighborhood district. So Almagro is the most expensive one, which is around 10,000 euros per square meter. And then you have this one here that's a little bit cheaper, 7,800. So I think you can do the same thing. Your viewers can do the same thing for rental prices. Consult the report and obviously take this with a grain of salt. This is all averages, right? So you can see how in Chamberí per square meter of space, you would pay around 25 euros per square meter. I think
that's so helpful.
Not for Chamberí or any other. This is also, I think, really useful for anybody who's just doing the first steps into researching and understanding better the price comparison and the trend as well, how our price is increasing and what's happening. I hope that was.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That's brilliant. I think most people weren't aware that that was an option on Idealista. And yeah, since we don't have an MLS in Spain, that is about as close as you're going to get to accurate numbers as a layperson, researching. So thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about availability of rentals and how competitive the process is. I think everybody's heard that there's a housing crisis in Spain. So on the ground, when you're working with clients, what is the experience for someone who is relocating and is trying to find that 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in a sought-after neighborhood?
I've never seen the market in Madrid being so competitive. I'll give you an example. I normally work with buyers, but I do sometimes work with, especially my husband's friends, to help them rent their properties. The last rental I had as an agent representing the owner, how can I say, working class neighborhood, the price was competitive. But again, you're not talking about something super cheap nor super expensive. But say, I got 126 calls, emails, and texts within the first 4 hours.
Wow. Okay.
Again, it's overwhelming. It is overwhelming. So then how do I help people who are looking for properties? I say, please make sure you have your profile. When you have an idealist, make sure you create a profile. Give as much information as you can with anybody out there, who you are, what you're looking for, what's your budget, what's your status, whether you can get insurance. Insurance is extremely important here because, as you know, there's this fear on the owner side of the occupants or the people who would extend their welcome without paying. So that's another whole area we probably don't have time to go into, but working with the owners, I completely understand their fear. So what they want basically is that the renters have a way to prove that they either have a Spanish work contract, they show 3 last pays of the Spanish, and then that's at least 3 times or 30%, the maximum 30 to 35% of their total. So if you're looking at the 2,000 euro apartment in Chamberí for 2 bedrooms, you have to demonstrate an income that's 6,000 and more, or roughly, again, don't quote me on a number plus minus. They would have to demonstrate that they have, if not that they have a way of getting the insurance, enough savings. I definitely do not recommend that they offer to pay extra. There are a lot of foreigners, that's what they do. And I don't think, I think there are ways to avoid that for sure, because paying somebody more than 1 month's rental, answer and 1 month guarantee, I wouldn't go anywhere above that. So those are what the owners are required by law to ask. Everything else, it's at their own risk. I think another thing that I would definitely recommend to your audience is that they never make a payment until they see the apartment, check the contract, and all these pressures that they get. This is only available today. I have 10 other people. And if you don't give me a deposit today, it's going to go somewhere else. Pass. Because there are scams. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. There is the deception in terms of square meters. What is listed here as 100 square meter is normally between 70 and 75. Because they use the information that Catastro, as you know, here, confirmation that Catastro is often inaccurate, or not often inaccurate, but he uses common areas. Anywhere that any apartment that's 70 or 80, they could put 120. Yeah, because they're not lying. I mean, you don't live in your garage or in your pool. You're looking for the place, the apartment. So there are a lot of those variables that I don't want to get into now. We don't have time for that. But definitely never pay in advance. And make sure that you visit the apartment before you make a reservation, or any kind of payment, and take a very, very close look at the contract.
Yeah. And this is why it's so valuable to have someone like you as a rental specialist representing. And this is what I do here in Girona on the Costa Brava. And I have a whole network. So no matter where you're going, if you need help with finding a rental, just reach out to me. I'll connect you. and Sanja's an amazing resource in Madrid. Trying to do this on your own in a new country where you don't know what you don't know, and ChatGPT will only get you so far. It really is worth it to have somebody on your side who can make those phone calls and advocate for you and read that contract and tell you that this just doesn't pass the sniff test. Like, I think we've both had experiences where the owner will say, well, no, it's occupied. You can't view it. And, you just have to look at the pictures and accept that that's what it looks like. Please don't do that. I've heard some nightmare stories about people who've been in that situation where they feel so much pressure. They need a place. You could find a temporary rental. Suck it up. Get an Airbnb or something on booking.com for a month or two. If you don't have somebody who can videotape it and be your eyes and ears on the ground, it's just not worth it. It's a big risk.
I cannot agree with you more. One more thing I wanted to mention. I don't know if it's the case at your end of the country, but in Madrid, what is quite common is pisos interior apartments. I don't know if you have that.
No.
The ones that they don't have the view of the street. They just look at your neighbor, which is like 2 meters away. So you don't. So when we speak about prices, somebody would come back probably and say, "But Sanja, I can see this apartment 2-bedroom is 1,500." And I'd say, yes, but then it's not probably 95% interior. What does that mean? If you don't mind about the views, if you don't care, you're just going there to sleep and spend your day outside, as most Spaniards do, by the way, that's fine. It's totally fine. You will have probably a clean place to sleep and all that, but forget the views. There's no balcony, and probably you'll be looking directly at your neighbor's window, looking at the interior. So sometimes those interiors tend to be bigger in kind of more upscale buildings, but very often they're just basically literally a few meters away from. It's like a mini courtyard, and you see your view of the window is directly into the rooms of the other neighbors.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So then you would see, of course, an apartment for 1,500 looks nice on photos, and yeah. When you visit, you know why.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a really good point. So we've talked about a couple of key neighborhoods. What other neighborhoods do you particularly like? Maybe something that's a little bit off the beaten path that people are surprised when they visit.
There's so many. Every neighborhood has its own. For family, for example, for our family, what we chose was initially Chamberí, because I think Chamberí is that beautiful mix of how can I say, very cozy neighborhood that's still walking distance to everything, has all the services you can have. But obviously nowadays, I think Chamberí is pricing out a lot of families, because unless you have a really fairly large budget, it's becoming really difficult to pay, especially new rentals. As you know, here in Spain, you can lock your rental for up to, not lock, but kind of lock for up to 5 years. So, and only pay a small increase each year. But up to 5 years, I mean, I've had some friends and clients who went from paying 1,100 to being asked now after 5 years to pay almost 2,000. So it's absolutely crazy. Unless you have that in your budget. I think looking a bit more north is definitely an option. Now there's a neighborhood that's not often mentioned. So it's a large neighborhood, it's a large district called Fuencarral. And in that district, there are few barrios or neighborhoods, I would say are great to completely overlook. Bless you. In a very family friendly areas with good schools, good connections. Still within M30. M30 is the ring around Madrid, kind of the highway ring around Madrid, one of three. So that one is everything within M30 is considered close to the center. So I would say Peñagranda definitely, or La Paz within M30. Look at those neighborhoods for families. They're a bit more a little bit more affordable. Again, it depends on whether you want a pool or no pool, but they're really nice neighborhoods, family friendly, middle class, middle upper class neighborhoods, extremely safe with a lot of parks, green areas for the kids. If you have pets as well, they're fantastic. Again, everything's walking distance. International schools are not far. So I think it's definitely something I would recommend people to off beaten path, as you said. Look into.
Perfect. And before we wrap up, let's talk about houses. So if somebody says, I want to be close to Madrid, but I really want a yard, I want, my own four walls. What are some of the best neighborhoods they should be considering? And let's leave the millionaires to their enclaves. So for your typical family, maybe under 800 or €1,000,000, where could they look for a house?
Look, there are a couple of neighborhoods. Again, properties are so expensive everywhere in Spain. So everything you're looking at houses. Yes, you can find something under millions. They would definitely need work, or they're in the areas that are basically a bit more remote or quite old, where expats tend to go most of the time. And again, we can talk about there are different neighborhoods in the south, but they tend to navigate more to northern part of Madrid or northwest part of Madrid. So you have neighborhoods like Pozuelo, like Las Rosas, like Guadilla. A lot of them have newer housing, row houses, like we call them, like the attached or semi-attached houses. Single homes are very hard to find under 2 million unless, especially if they have a bigger yard. It's not impossible, but again, it depends on the community. What's great about those communities is that they typically have a pool, they typically have a play area, they typically have a communal area where you can rent for parties, or you have the kids are free to roam within it because they're normally gated. You would have a guard or somebody, a portero as they call it here, somebody to take good care of the community. And the downside, I would say, of those communities is that you need a car. So it's you don't have that feel of Madrid like we do within the city, because you can walk everywhere. I have 3 major supermarkets 2 minutes literally from my place, right? So forget about having a big car with a lot of groceries as we used to do in North America. Here, just, you're missing one item, you go there, you're back home in 5 minutes, just take the buy that. So that's the part I love about it. But obviously, as you go further out in Madrid and you live in those, you don't need a car. So that's a downside. So yes, those would be, I would say, some of the areas. Now, with those with a bit of under definitely between 500 and a million budget, I would say there are a few neighborhoods in the south that are really interesting. This is, okay, a couple of them are great. Getafe is one, but I find them to be a bit not too far. They're all also very well connected, but there again, you would have to look for those newer mini neighborhoods, how can I say, within those neighborhoods. Also, Leganés. I recently had a client who was looking there, and for me, it felt always, oh my God, this is so far away from Madrid. And it is by no means far. I just felt, because I'm so used to inside Leganés, one of the neighborhoods. And now what you have, a lot of new developments that are, comparatively speaking, affordable. New developments, there's a lot of things happening in the southeast part around Vallecas, and which used traditionally a working class neighborhood, but now there is a lot of new construction there in the whole south and southeast part of Madrid. Quite affordable, again, comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
So a lot of families with very small kids, I think, choose to go there, especially if it's their first home and they're a bit tight on budget. I think that could be those entry level homes for those who are a bit more, whose budget is definitely under, some 700,000-800,000. So you can find a really nice, even new developments there that would be 400, 300, 400, 500,000. Even some brand new apartments there in that price range. As you know, Madrid, like many other cities, expanding exponentially. There's a lot of there's a whole area of what's called Madrid Nueva Norte that is being planned from the Cuatro Torres, and that is over the next 20 years going to be the biggest structural investment in Madrid. Although it's very close to all the rundown neighborhoods, for people who are looking for a longer-term investment, those might be something to look at, because that area is going through a transformation. And if you don't mind public works for the next decade or so, You will definitely be able to buy a much more competitive price there, over 3, 4, 500,000, with a projection that will definitely reevaluate a lot in the future.
Interesting. So many different options, and
Yeah.
it sounds like there's something for everyone, but you need the right expert. So if you want to connect with Sanja, click the link in the description. I'll also include those resources that she referenced. And Sanja, thank you so much. It was so nice to get to learn about Madrid through your eyes. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Yes.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. Madrid is such a beautiful, vibrant city, and there are so many different ways to find your place within the city. If you'd like more information about finding a home in Madrid, make sure to reach out to Sandra. She's an incredible resource. If you're still trying to figure out where in Spain is right for you, that's where I do my best work. I help people align their priorities, lifestyle, and budget with the part of Spain that's right for them. So one way that we can work together is through a 1-hour Move Abroad consultation. And this is where I'll help you narrow in on the areas in Spain that might be best aligned for you and help you move forward in your Move Abroad journey. If you're a little bit further along and you're ready to come and explore in person, I have 2 upcoming scouting trips scheduled in April and May. The details will be in the description. These are great ways to experience multiple cities in a short time frame and get off of the tourist track and see what life is really like in Spain so you can find your perfect lifestyle. So reach out if I can be a resource to you in any of those ways. And until next time, keep traveling, keep exploring, and keep living the life you dream about.